The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So this guy in the fantasy baseball chat is just ripping me. He's calling me names for how I handled my team. Buddy, you had 20 weeks for your own team to play better. Don't be mad at me.
The passion.
Mac Jones is fighting not just for his Patriots job, but he very well may be fighting for his NFL future.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
For the Red Sox, it can't always be about next year. It can't always be about down the road. Where's the team that battles for now?
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Not a happy Monday. Happy Monday to you. Happy holiday Monday to you. But not a happy Monday for us in Sportsland. And not a happy Monday for us in Patriots land. We are live for all 90 minutes, and I am happy to be here for all 90 minutes. And we're going to need all 90 minutes to get through what we saw yesterday and where the Patriots are and where they are going and how exactly they got there. I'm here. Danny's here. You're here. The text line is open to you. 802-585-3026. If you want to yell, if you want to vent, if you want to complain, if you want to whine, if you want to fire everybody, if you want to give people second chances and third chances, go right ahead. The text line is yours today. 802-585-3026. The Patriots just absolutely embarrassed on their home field yesterday afternoon by a very average New Orleans Saints team. Right? It was supposed to be a get-right opportunity for the Patriots. Instead, it was a get-right opportunity for the New Orleans Saints. It wasn't just that the Patriots were beaten. I predicted that on Friday. I expected that. It wasn't just that they're 1-4. I expected and predicted that too. It's just the utter lack of competitiveness. It is the utter lack of energy, the utter lack of effort in some cases, including by the coaching staff, that all contributed to an absolute beatdown and an absolute embarrassment yesterday. 802-585-3026. That is the text line number. Danny, Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber, Rouse's Point, New York as well. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Danny, let me tell you a little story here just for a second before I really get to the Patriots. So everybody knows this, that I played high school baseball and high school basketball. I've mentioned this before. It's fairly obvious. And my sophomore year, I made the varsity basketball team, right? I made the varsity basketball team. And that was a pretty big deal. Like, it's a big deal, I think, when sophomores or underclassmen get put on varsity teams. And it was especially a big deal at my high school. My high school was really big. Like, Danny, how many people did you graduate with at Essex? Like, how big was your class at Essex?
Oh, it was under 300. It was small.
But it's still a relatively big school for the state of Vermont, right?
It is.
So you graduated, we'll call it 300 people. I graduated with 750 kids in my class. So if you take that every class, we'll call it 700. If every class has 700 people, there's 2,800 people in your high school. Just say half of them are guys, 1,400 people. There are 1,400 guys eligible to make varsity teams in any given year. To be one of the 14 or so to get to do that, I took pride in that. I took an honor in that. But sophomore year, I was really, really struggling, right? I got pulled on the team. I was actually doing very well at the beginning, started the first 2 games of the year, scored 6 points here, 8 points there, hit a couple shots, played good defense, whatever. But as the season wore on, I really started to do poorly. And I lost my starting spot, and then I lost playing time altogether, and I wasn't scoring. I wasn't doing anything well. And I was getting yelled at a lot, right? Back in the day when coaches were really big yellers, I was getting yelled at a lot. That wasn't really productive for me, but that's just the way it was. That's just the way this coach was. That's kind of the way the style was even 15, 20 years ago. But what I'm getting to, my point is this. My coach pulled me aside one day and he said, look, when I stop yelling at you, that's when you need to be worried. And I thought about that. I said, okay, if he's yelling at me, then at least he still cares. right? He doesn't yell at the last guy on the bench. He doesn't yell at the senior who is just happy to be there, right? Like those guys don't get yelled at. So I'm like, okay, if I'm getting yelled at as much as I don't like it, at least I know he still cares. I tell you this because today, this will be the last day, I think, that I yell at the New England Patriots. We are at that point where I am about to turn the page, and the New England Patriots are about to become the senior at the end of the bench. The New England Patriots are about to become the guy who's just happy to be there. The New England Patriots are about to be the team that has no hope. So when there is no hope, there is no point in getting worked up. That is where we are about to be. We are on the precipice of that. I've got a little bit of fight left in me for this team today. After today, I don't know how I will feel. There is a real chance that by next Monday, it is, to me, complete and total apathy for this team and for this football season. And I don't want that to be the case. I love football. I love the Patriots. I love the Patriots on our station. I love talking about the Patriots. And I know that you love football out there. I don't want to be moved on from football on October 15th or October 16th, whatever next Monday is. But that is where we are headed. That is how bad it is. That is how bad it has gotten. That is how bad the last 2 weeks have been. And I don't want to be reactionary. I'm not trying to be over dramatic. I'm not trying to sell you on something. Look, we have the Patriots. I want you to be invested. I want you to listen. Okay, this is good for business if the Patriots are good. But we are at the point where they are about to become not only irrelevant nationally, not only irrelevant for the football landscape at large, they are about to become apathetic to me and you. And those are words I never thought I would say. This is as bad as it's ever been for the Patriots in the last 20 years. This is as bad as it's ever been for the Patriots in the time that I have been here, right? We've seen the Patriots lose. We've seen the Patriots get embarrassed. We've seen the Patriots been blown out. I've seen Cam Newton benched multiple times in the same season. We have seen all of that. But never have we seen it back-to-back weeks. Never have we seen it like this. I mean, Bill Belichick's worst loss at home ever in his NFL career, even as a coach of the Browns. Worst loss at home ever in his NFL career. There is nothing to say about this team that isn't negative. Really, there is nothing to say about this team that isn't negative. In an offensive-minded league, in a league where scoring points, I'm sorry to say this, is fairly easy. The Patriots have been outscored 69 or 72-3 in their last two games. They've been outscored by 69 points in their last two games. I remember doing a segment with Doug Flutie years ago where I actually asked Flutie, I said, Doug, if there was one radical NFL change we could make, what do you think about making it 15 yards for a first down? Because it's far too easy for teams to move the ball up and down the field. This is a real thought that I had just 3 years ago where I thought, man, offense is so easy. We should make it 1st and 10. We should make it 1st and 15 and make everyone start from there. In a league where offense is easy, you have 3 points in your last two games. Heck, Danny, I blank you not. The Patriots offense has allowed 3 touchdowns in the last week, or in the last 2 games, rather. The Patriots offense has scored none for themselves. The Patriots offense has given opposing defenses 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And the Patriots offense has gotten not one for itself. They haven't lucked into a touchdown. They haven't penaltied their way into a touchdown. They haven't done anything offensively. The regression from the offense, not just from Tom Brady's time, the regression from the offense over the last 4 years, the regression of the offense even from last year's debacle, and the regression from the offense since the beginning of the season is unfathomable. How did this team almost beat the defending NFC champion Eagles? How did this team have a chance to beat the might be the AFC champion this year Dolphins? and then get beat 38-3 and 34-0 by teams that look increasingly average to barely above average. Think about the separation right now in the NFL. The 49ers beat the Cowboys by 32 points. The Cowboys beat you by 35 points. If the Patriots played the 49ers, it would look like Alabama against a directional school at the beginning of a college football season. The defense, which is supposed to be the calling card of your team, has been shredded in multiple weeks. The shtick from Bill Belichick after the game, I mean, my goodness, the gruffness works when you're 12-4 and you're beating everybody 37-10. When you're on the other side of those beatings, we're going to need something a little more than, we'll do what's best for the team. I do what's best for the team possible. Yeah, there's no point in this. We need better than that. We need more than that. This is absurd. And you know what? The Patriots used to be the apex of the sport. Right now, today, and the NFL is a week-to-week league. I get it could look different next week, but right now, the Patriots are an embarrassment. Right now, the Patriots are a laughingstock. Okay? And as we said, we kind of hinted at this last week. There's no hinting at it anymore. Not only are they bad now, they have among, Danny, the worst outlooks of any franchise in the NFL. I don't know where and how exactly it gets better from here. Really. Like, I don't know where and how things get better. No matter what you do, it looks bleak. Right? What are the Patriots options right now, right? The Patriots options are to run it back with Bill Belichick and Mac Jones. That doesn't look real appealing. Their options are to fire everyone and start over, and that doesn't look real appealing. Or it is to throw money at problems again and cause yourself to be in a bad financial situation. Do I want the Patriots to have to overpay for Kirk Cousins on the free agent market? No, not really. Because if Kirk Cousins comes here and makes $35 million a year, he's going to have the same problems as Mac Jones has around him, and there won't be any money left to go and try to address it. No matter how you slice this up, the New England Patriots are in bad straits, and to me, they have among the worst outlooks in the entire sport. I mean, Danny, we can run down this of other teams that are last place teams or bad teams. I mean, let me do, in the AFC alone, the Colts are 3-2. I don't think they're particularly good. Anthony Richardson's injured. That stinks, but they've got Anthony Richardson, right? You have a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, and a team right now that's punching above its weight class, and Anthony Richardson looks exciting. There is some room for optimism there.
They still got Jonathan Taylor, too.
They still got Jonathan Taylor, who they locked up long-term to a 3-year deal. That's good. The Texans, they're 2-3. I like their head coach, D'Amico Ryans, and C.J. Stroud very well might be the best young quarterback in that class. Okay, there are reasons for optimism there. Okay, I think Denver right now has a rather bleak situation. I think that Tennessee has a rather bleak situation with Ryan Tannehill, but at least they've got maybe the quarterback of the future, Will Levis, on the roster. But outside of the Patriots, I think the Titans have a bad outlook. I think Denver has a bad outlook. In the NFC, I don't think it looks real good for the Giants, so I'll lump them in as looking pretty outright scary at this point. Arizona might get the number 1 pick of the draft, so I'll give them some reasons for optimism. Chicago, and Carolina had the number 1 pick in the draft this year. So even bad teams around the NFL have worse or have better outlooks than the Patriots. The Patriots, no matter how you slice it, are in the bottom 3 of outlooks among NFL franchises. It's absolutely ridiculous what they have become. It's ridiculous how they have gotten there. I mean, this is an absolute organizational crossroads. This is an organizational crossroads. And hear me loudly when I say this. The New England Patriots are now at the point. It is no longer about saving this season. If they can win a couple of games and get some momentum and do some nice things and give us some more enjoyment on Sunday, then that's great. But it's not about the playoffs. It's not about first place or second place. It's not about any of that. What is important now for the Patriots is what comes next. And those conversations are going to get very, very uncomfortable. It's not about when you watch Patriots coverage, NBC Sports Boston, or listen on WEEI, or listen here, a lot of it is going to be less about game-to-game recaps and previews, and it's going to be about big picture stuff, and big picture stuff is very uncomfortable. What do you do with Mac? Is Mac going to get his fifth-year option picked up? Is Mac going to be a backup? Do you need to trade Mac? Heck, does Mac even have a future in the league? All of those conversations are going to happen from now through the offseason. What do you do with Bill Belichick? Are you going to force him into a front office role? Are you going to force him out of a front office role and into only a coaching role? Are you going to fire the greatest coach the sport has ever known? Are you going to trade the greatest coach the sport has ever known? Those things are where we are headed. Heck no, we're not headed there. We are already there. Buckle up, because it's going to be a turbulent and bumpy and uncomfortable ride. That is where the New England Patriots are at. 802-585-3026. Again, 802-585-3026. We got a lot of people getting in on the text line. Peter in Williston. The game has passed Belichick by, just like it did for other greats like Don Shula and Chuck Noll and Joe Gibbs and Marv Levy, to name a few. Texter says the Patriots have scored a combined 3 points in the last two games, and Mac Jones is 31st in the NFL in passer rating. Tell us again how he's a better option than Bailey Zappi. At least Zappi doesn't give the ball away left and right when he plays. Joe in Richmond says, more like Alabama versus a high school team. We're awful. I think the 0-5 Panthers or the Cardinals would beat us. No offense at all. Lose Judon and the defense becomes god-awful. Time for Bill to go. I'm sorry. Will in Plattsburgh says no quarterback can make this offense better. There, it says Belichick looks lost as well. And he adds, Jones isn't playing well, but anybody on this team, or nobody on this team is playing well. Fans should get their money back. Let me address the text that we just got about Zappi first and foremost. Tell us again how he's a better option than Mac Jones, or tell us again how Mac is a better option than Zappi. At least when Zappi plays, he doesn't give the ball away. Danny, when you watched Bailey Zappi yesterday, did you see a guy who deserves to be the starting quarterback of an NFL team? Because I didn't.
I saw overthrows. I saw missed throws. I saw the same amount of pressure. He's not going to be any better in that offense.
I mean, look, ding, ding, ding. So when you ask me how is Mac a better option, I saw Mac complete passes, right? Like I saw Mac complete passes.
At least a couple.
Some of them went to the other team, but I saw Mac complete passes right off the top of my head. The sideline pass before halftime to Devontae Parker. Kendrick Bourne across the middle. I saw Mac make some NFL throws yesterday. You know what I saw Bailey Zappi make? 0 NFL throws yesterday. In a blowout situation where the Saints defense is, I'm not saying they're not trying, but they're certainly not dialing up everything they were dialing up in the first quarter. Bailey Zappi was overshooting everybody. I want to say that Bailey Zappi at one point had 4 drives and 3 of them were 3-and-out punts. Like, what exactly do you want? I mean, the Patriots offense is bad. The Patriots quarterbacks are average to bad. I mean, there's nothing here to go to. Now, Will Grier is a guy who was a good quarterback at Florida, who was a mid-round draft pick of the Panthers a couple of years ago. I'd be willing to give him a shot before I give Zappi a shot. At least there, he's the unknown. Maybe there's a chance you strike the Brock Purdy lightning in a bottle, but you're not getting that with Zappi. You're not getting that with Zappi. 802-585-3026. I mean, Danny, every single post-Patriots game day for 3 years, since 2020, we have done Unpacking the Patriots. This is 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to have to cancel Unpacking the Patriots because there's nothing good to talk about. I mean, we always go, oh, some good, some bad. We talk about both. There's no good here. Nothing went right for this team, right? Let's start with Mac. 12 of 22 for 2 interceptions. His confidence looks shot. His footwork looks lazy. He looks like he's seeing a rush sometimes that isn't there, but more often than not, the rush is there. So Mac played terribly. So Mac can't escape pressure. They can't block anybody. They can't get open. I mean, I watched every minute of the game just like you did. I went back and watched the detailed highlights looking for just things to pull for today. Couldn't find anything there either. I mean, right before the half, Patriots are down 21-0 in the second quarter, right? They have a chance before the half to come out or before the half to score. They're moving the football. They have 1st and 10 at over midfield. You can get down 21-7 at half, come back, get the ball, I believe, to start the second half, make it 21-14, and boom, the double score, and it's a game, baby. But instead, 1st and 10, Mac gets sacked. Now it's 2nd and 15. They get it to like 3rd and 10, and Mac gets sacked again, and then boom, the half's over. They can't get open. He did miss throws. They can't block. I mean, 3rd and 8, he just throws it up there. The 50-50 balls that Devontae Parker is supposed to be so good at, he can't win that battle. I mean, there's nothing that went well. Let me see. Oh, Ty Montgomery dropped a pass that should have been a catch. That became a pick. And now, they missed a field goal. They muffed a punt return. I mean, what more do you want here? They can't force turnovers defensively. This team right now is doing nothing well. And for a Patriots defense that is supposed to be top 5, certainly top 10, I wouldn't even know that a lot of those guys are on the field. When's the last time we spoke about Christian Barmore, 2nd-round draft pick? Week 1? Josh Uche, a guy who burst on the scene last year, great pass rusher. Does he have a sack this year? He may, but I don't remember it. I mean, when's the last time we talked about Devon Godshaw? I haven't all season. These guys that are supposed to be seminal figures on the Patriots defense, I don't even notice them out there. You know, the only people I notice out there are the people in the secondary. Why? Because the tackles are being made by them, because people are running for 6 yards up the middle and it's getting to the 2nd and 3rd levels, or because they're passing all the way down the field and they're making tackles there. Jabril Peppers is the only guy on defense who I can tell you is doing something good right now. I mean, Jonathan Jones was back yesterday. Did you even know it? Kyle Duggar. Have we talked about him at all this year? No, not really. These are supposed to be your leaders. These are supposed to be the heart and soul of your team, and defense is supposed to be the heart and soul of your team. And we're not talking about any of them. And now, not only is it the lack of talent, not only is it the injuries, not only is it the lack of execution, to me now, it's a lack of effort also. Not by every player, but certainly by some players. There was a screen pass that the Saints threw in the 3rd quarter yesterday, right after halftime, that went for like 25 yards. There was you talk about Ole Matador defense. That was embarrassing. And then, don't get me started, Danny, on the coaching staff. And this one goes right to Bill Belichick, too, as far as I'm concerned, because this ultimately is on him. The Patriots had 4th and 3 yesterday. 4th and 3 at the Saints 40, down 21-0, I think. I think it was 21-0 at the time. 4th and 3 at the Saints 40, and the Patriots punted. Right? You're down 21-0. You have a chance early in the 3rd quarter to do something. 4th and 3 from the Saints 40, you punted. What's the risk? Right? If you don't get it, you're on your way to getting blown out. You know what you did by trying to by doing something different? You ended up getting blown out. They had 4th and 3 at the 31 in the 1st quarter. They kicked the field goal. Guess what? Missed it. So if you're trying to do these safe conservative things to avoid getting blown out, it ain't working either. I mean, this is ridiculous. Bill Belichick's given up on it as far as I'm concerned 2 weeks in a row. Punting on 4th and 3 at the 40. Kyle Duggar, I thought, had an interception, or at least had a pretty darn good chance at an interception when it was 24-0. Patriots didn't even bother to challenge it. Okay, just throw the red flag. Just humor me one time. Throw the red flag. See if it was a pick. If not, what do you care about your timeouts for? You're already getting your clock cleaned. I don't need you to keep your timeout. You clearly wanted to get out of the game as quick as possible by these coaching decisions. So what do I need timeouts for? Throw the damn flag. Throw the damn flag. It is absurd where the Patriots are at. They are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. And it's happened in a 4-year period that they've become this. But, man, it's never been this bad. I mean, 802-585-3026. Danny just put this stat in my ear. Patriots wide receivers have the least amount of separation in the NFL. They can't get open. Offensive line has the worst pass block win rate in the NFL. It was nearly 50% of dropbacks yesterday resulted in Saints pressure. Who is succeeding with that? And you know I'm not a Mac Jones fan, but it can't all be on him. He's playing poorly. He looks shot. Confidence-wise. My confidence would be shot, too, if I was getting guys in my face every single play, practically. I can't believe what the Patriots have come. Tex says, even the punt, let's see. Oh, even the punter was terrible. Yeah, the first punt by Berger, awful. Tex says, I love seeing the Patriots struggle. Go Dolphins. That's Rick in Jeffersonville. Yeah, this 1 year is pretty bad for the Patriots. Rick, haven't you had like 15 of these years in the last 20 years? I mean, is that what we're doing here? We're throwing cheap shots like this? Like, yeah, the Dolphins have had like 15 years like this in the last 20 years, right? Like most Dolphins years. Like this is an average Sunday for the Dolphins. Heck, yesterday passes off as a good Sunday for the Dolphins in a lot of years. Tex says, do you think Belichick is holding back Bill O'Brien and controlling the offensive philosophy? No, not really. I just think the Patriots don't have a lot of talent. I think if we're giving away a pie chart of blame for the Patriots, I believe Bill Belichick gets most of it. Because Bill Belichick put together the roster, right? It's that simple. Okay? I mean, Bill Belichick put together the roster. So he gets to be the biggest piece of the blame pie. I mean, the guys that can't separate, the guys that can't block, drafting a kicker and a punter over skill position players, drafting a guard in the first round last year, all of that falls on Bill Belichick. All of it, I think you could have done something different. Could have done something differently. So I put Bill Belichick head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to the blame pie. I do not think that he is holding back the offensive philosophy. I just don't think the Patriots players are particularly good. We talked about this last week. I won't dwell on it. It is the truth, though. The Patriots have C talent, and they have a C quarterback. If you have a C quarterback, you better have A talent, and the Patriots don't. Okay? A lot of things can contribute to how your NFL season goes, right? What teams have injuries, what injuries you have, what schedule you play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I look at other teams that have C-ish quarterbacks, and you just go down the list and start seeing what do they have around them, right? I'll use the Seahawks as my example because they're my favorite team. Geno Smith is good. He's better than Mac, but he's a B- quarterback. He's not an A. But the Seahawks have what I think is real good talent around him. Okay, look at the Seahawks and what they've got. They've got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, one of the best two wide receiver duos in the league. They've drafted a first-round wide receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So now they got three wide receivers that are pretty good. They've got a tight end in Will Dissly, who at least they've locked up, who's a good blocker and can receive. They've got three tight ends that they are willing to use. Oh, by the way, they also have offensive tackles that they drafted in each of or they drafted two of them in the first round last year. Or no, they drafted a first and third or first and second, whatever. So they fortified the line the best that they can. I mean, I'm not saying that the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl, but they are at least trying to give their B-C quarterback a fighting shot, and the Patriots aren't giving Mac Jones his. Tex says, as goofy as it sounds, it's time for the Giants and Patriots to trade Mac Jones for Daniel Jones. No, because Daniel Jones is making $40 million a year. The good thing about Mac at this point is that he's cheap, right? If you want to move on from Mac, you can with very little financial penalty. The Giants, they are screwed, and that is why they may have a worse outlook than the Patriots. Certainly, they're up there with one of the worst outlooks in the NFL as well. Tennessee, the Giants, the Patriots, they're all kind of lumped in together. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We'll talk a little more about Mac and Zappy, and I'm going to ask you all the question I never thought I'd ask. Do you want the Patriots to tank We'll talk about it after CBS News next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush at 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield. In Barrie at 96.5. In Montpelier at 98.3. Along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury, Montpelier. Streaming at WDEVradio.com. 92 years of serving Vermont. The friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Israel's prime minister has vowed to wipe out the vile terrorists still killing its people.
Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas.
Retaliatory attacks have already begun. CBS's Imtiaz Tayeb is in Israel.
Israel pounds targets in Gaza. The country's army says it's regained control of communities around the Gaza Strip, but warfare rages with civilians under fire and seized as hostages. Today, Israel's defense minister ordered a total blockade of Gaza. No power, food, or fuel.
About 1,600 people have died on both sides, including 11 Americans. But CBS's Skylar Henry reports more people are hostages.
Among the captives is an 85-year-old grandmother who was paraded through the streets of Gaza.
I'm sure she's very scared, and I'm sure she feels very alone.
The U.S. State Department now believes Americans may be among the hostages.
Just given the sheer numbers involved, we do expect that there may well be Americans who have been caught up in the hostage taking as well.
White House Security Council spokesman John Kirby says Iran is complicit, but there's no direct evidence tying it to the attacks.
They have had long-standing support for Hamas now, many, many years, resourcing, training, capabilities. So in that regard, clearly they're complicit. As we look at the intelligence and the evidence, we haven't seen any specific participation by Iran.
The U.S. is also concerned about Lebanon, and U.S. airlines are updating plans.
I'm Matt Piper. Delta says it has canceled all flights into and out of Tel Aviv through the end of the month. The airline says it will look into options for those looking to leave that part of Israel with seats that become open on its partner airlines. United Airlines also now says its Tel Aviv flights will remain suspended until, quote, conditions allow them to resume.
Your local Walgreens could be closed this week. CNN confirms pharmacy staff at stores in 4 states locked their gates and walked off the job today, citing harsh working conditions. More auto workers are also on strike.
4,000 UAW members walked off the job from Mack Trucks plants in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Florida after voting down a 5-year contract agreement that union negotiators reached with the company. The deal included a 19% pay raise over 5 years, including 10% upon ratification.
At CBS's Jason Brooks, the Writers Guild voted overwhelmingly to ratify its new contract today with studios and streamers. Voting ended about 2 hours ago, ending one of the longest strikes in Hollywood history. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Are you looking for rewarding work where you can make a difference in our state? I'm Paul from Green Mountain Solar. As one of the fastest growing solar companies in Vermont, we're looking for talented candidates for our solar advisor, installer, and electrician roles. We offer a competitive salary and benefits package and the opportunity to do meaningful work. We pride ourselves on providing the best customer experience, and that is only possible when we have a strong team. To apply, please go to greenmtnsolar.com or send your resume to jobs@greenmtnsolar.com.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text HUNK to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 321321 321. That's HUNK to 321321.
Here in Vermont, it's now easier than ever to recycle computers, television, batteries, household paints, fluorescent bulbs, and mercury thermostats. Special recycling programs let you drop off these items at participating locations for free, since you can't toss them in the trash. To get details on where and how to recycle special items in your neck of the woods, call 1-855-63-CYCLE. That's 1-855-632-9253 or visit vtrecycle.com.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. I buried the lead, one of the leads at the beginning of the show. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by the voice of the Patriots, Bob Socci. You hear him with Zoe on this radio station calling Patriots games. Pats lose 34-0 yesterday. Bob is going to be with us in about 10 minutes. Look, I'm looking forward to talking to him. I just wish it were under better circumstances. 802-585-3026. Let's talk a little bit about Mac Jones. Let's talk about the idea of tanking here. Let me start with just Mac as a whole. I've been tough on Mac over the years. I think I've been honest on Mac over the years. In fact, I really do think I've been fair on Mac. Now I'm going to defend Mac a little bit. What the Patriots have done is not fair to him. As far as I'm concerned, the Patriots have now eroded what Mac Jones does well. Now, he's not without blame, right? Some of the decision-making, some of the attitude stuff, I believe that's a problem. But the Patriots have eroded what Mac Jones does well. Everybody else now, I think I was close to the forefront on not loving Mac Jones, right? I think I was telling you earlier than a lot of people were that Mac Jones isn't the guy at $40 million a year. Now everybody else is coming on it, and now I don't want to be the guy that piles on. I made my points 3 years ago and 2 years ago and earlier this year. I don't need to make those points anymore. You are now seeing what I have seen for a couple of years. That said, this is not all Mac Jones' fault, and what has happened to him is not fair to him. He's got 3 coordinators in 3 years. That's tough, right? Look at what happened to Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, right? We all gave Baker a bit of a pass in Cleveland, right? He had Hugh Jackson. He had Freddie Kitchens. He had Kevin Stefanski. He had guys getting fired mid-year. Like, Baker had a tough go of it in Cleveland. The same thing is happening to Mac here. McDaniels, Judge, Patricia, now O'Brien. That's multiple systems, multiple languages, multiple verbiages. That's not easy for a guy. That's not fair. They haven't set him up in a position to succeed. Here is what frustrates me so much. I will never forget this. In 2020, we had Eric Eager of Pro Football Focus on the show, and we're talking about the Bills. And he was like, at that point, we weren't sure if Josh Allen was very good. Right? At that point, we weren't sure. And he said to me, Brady, you know what I love what the Bills are doing? I said, what's that? He said, they are giving Josh Allen every opportunity to succeed. They're bringing in players. They got Diggs. They got Cole Beasley. They had Frank Gore at the time. They had Brian Dable as the offensive coordinator. They're like, we are giving Josh Allen every chance to succeed. And if he can't do it with this group, then he just can't do it. But we're going to get the answer, right? If he can take this group and succeed, we'll learn he's pretty good. If he can't work with this good group, then he can't. The Patriots are not giving Mac Jones even that chance. Okay, it would be one thing if they had what the Dolphins have, right? The Dolphins are doing the same thing with Tua. They are giving him every opportunity to succeed. The Patriots are not giving Mac the opportunity to succeed. I mean, the line is bad. They can't run the football. They can't separate. The defense is no longer dominant. There's nothing here. And as a result, you see Mac then doing what? Mac's trying to do too much, right? That pick six, he got hit. I don't know where he was throwing it to anyways, but he's got nowhere to go. And he's like, well, look, I got to try to do something. I don't blame him or begrudge him for wanting to help, but he's not capable of what exactly he is trying to do. There is nothing good happening here. And Daniel Jeremiah, who's an NFL draft expert and scouting guru, and I think he used to work for the Chargers in a scouting capacity, he was on NFL Network last night, And he was asked, is Mac Jones the problem in New England? He said, certainly not the biggest one.
They're trailers. You're dependent on what's around you, and they don't have anything around him. They have nothing in front of him. I already went through and watched the tape of this game. He got hit a ton in the pocket, and it was multiple offenders with this offensive line. And then you freeze the tape when you get to the top of your drop. You're like, okay, where should he go with the ball? Well, there's no separation. So as a quarterback who's dependent on what's around him, and you're not good around him, this is going to be the result. It shouldn't be a surprise. So
it's surprising how ugly it's gotten. It's not surprising necessarily that they're not winning. I'll say that. It's not necessarily surprising they're not winning. It is surprising how ugly it is. This is not fair to Mac. And again, I was never going to pay Mac $40 million a year. It's also not fair to him, though, to look like a guy who doesn't belong in the league. Okay. However bad, whatever team you used to make fun of, the Patriots look worse then. Right? If you were a Patriots fan that was making fun of the Jets with Zach Wilson, this looks worse. Zach Wilson has 2 wins. I was there in 2016 or 17, whatever year the Browns went 1-15. I was at a Browns game that year. This looks as bad as that or worse. The Browns scored at least like 13 points in the game that I was at when I saw them play against Baltimore. I mean, this is as bad as it can be in pro football. That's where the Patriots are at. Mac Jones is not, to me, the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, but he looks like it because of this situation. That leads me to my next point. 802-585-3026. Would you bench Mac Jones? To me, the answer is no. And it's not even a real discussion to me. Bailey Zappi is not the answer either. We've seen that. He couldn't play in preseason. He couldn't play yesterday. He couldn't play last week. Again, if Will Grier can show something, I'm more inclined to give him a chance. But for Bailey Zappi, the answer is no. We can do more on that tomorrow. I want to get to Bob here in a couple of minutes. But I do want to ask this question. I won't ask you if you're rooting for the Patriots to tank, because I don't think the Patriots really are wired to tank. I do not think that Bill Belichick will throw games, or that Robert Kraft will ask him to throw games, or that Robert Kraft will have Bill Belichick get rid of good players for the sake of losing games. I do not believe the Patriots are wired that way. I ask you this, though. Are you rooting for the Patriots to lose at this point for the sake of draft position? It's an honest question. I think a lot of fans have different reactions to this kind of subject. I will not tell you how to be a fan. But I got into an interaction yesterday on social media with a guy who said, I'm rooting for the Patriots to lose. And then somebody else jumped in and said, the Patriots clearly aren't good. So, yeah, I'd like them to lose. I'd like them to go get a top quarterback. And there are reportedly several quarterbacks at the top of this year's draft, right? We've got Caleb Williams of USC. You've got Drake May out of North Carolina, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. And I'm sure there's somebody else that I'm forgetting about or haven't mentioned here, but I don't really get into draft stuff until after the season ends. But there are a number of quarterbacks out there. Are you rooting for the Patriots to lose games so that they are in a better position to land one of those quarterbacks? 802-585-3026. Danny, I ask you, you are not as big a Patriots fan as me. Are you rooting for them to lose for the sake of draft position?
I feel like they're losing naturally, so they might just get a high pick anyway.
So what would you rather them do, though? Like if I told you, Danny, the Patriots are going to, right the ship-ish and finish 6-11, or you can go 2-15, but assure yourself a top 2 pick. Which one is more appealing to you?
I don't know if they're going to get the number 1 pick anyway, because I feel like the Cardinals are angling for that. But after that, I feel like the draft is a little bit of a crapshoot. So I would rather see them play to win, but I don't think it's going to happen much anyway.
Yeah, I am with you. I can reconcile these two thoughts, right? I believe that organizationally, it might be to their benefit to lose a bunch of games, right? To go 2-15, to go 3-14. It very well might be to their benefit to do that. But I can't actively seek it out. I can't actively root for it. I am too big of a fan to root for my team to lose, even if I see the benefit of it. I invest 17 Sundays. I sit on my couch or in my chair for 3 hours on Sunday. I come and do the show with you. We talk a lot about the Patriots. I am rooting for, I am putting a lot of time into being a Patriots fan. I would like my time rewarded. I would like my time to have meant something. I would like to see the Patriots win. And if that means they go 6-11 or 8-9 or 7-12 or 7-12, 7-10, whatever, right? Like, it might not be the best for their draft position, but I certainly want to see them win games. And after the season's over, then I like to evaluate the draft position, right? If they go 2-15, then I will look at it and say, okay, they went 2-15. Well, hey, now at least the benefit of that is they got the number 1 pick. If they go 8-9 and they end up with the pick number 12, I'll say, okay, they're kind of in no man's land, and that really stinks. But what can they do to trade up to get the number 5? That's how I'll look at it. And heck, they got Mac at number 15. There are quarterbacks there. Patrick Mahomes, I think, was like the 13th or 16th pick in the draft. So, you might as well, you can get good quarterbacks in the 10 to 15 range. So if they end up with 6 wins or 7 wins, then they still got a chance, or they can go and, package some things together to get a better pick. Tex says they might as well try to win. Never know what draft picks will become. Texter says, I told you a year ago to tank the season and you laughed at me. I told Zappy, I said Zappy and you laughed. I'm still laughing. What is this infatuation?
What has Zappy proved, though?
Like, what is this infatuation with Bailey Zappy? And I don't want to be the guy who piles on the kid who played at the FCS program. I don't want to be that guy. I think it's a great story that Bailey Zappy is in the league and that Bailey Zappy has a job. And I think it was nice that last year Bailey Zappy got to play and won a couple of games and kept you afloat when your starting quarterback was out. He did exactly what you'd want a backup quarterback to do last year. He's not a franchise guy. He's not better than Mac. I saw Bailey Zappy get... Texter says he can't be any worse. Really? I saw Bailey Zappy go, like you said, Danny, overshooting guys, missing guys. I saw him do the same thing last week in meaningless blowout games. Heck, I saw him in preseason against second and third stringers not be able to move the ball down the field. Bailey Zappy is not a starting NFL quarterback. Mac Jones at least played at Alabama, finished in the top 3 of the Heisman. There's some pedigree there. There's some lineage there. I believe that he's better than Zappy. If you don't like Mac, then start Greer or move on from Mac in the offseason or draft a quarterback and have Mac get benched or go sign someone or trade for someone. Those are all options we can talk about. But Bailey Zappy is not better than Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappy shouldn't be playing over him. Okay, he should be playing over him. So, yes, I'm still laughing if you think that Bailey Zappy is the guy. As far as tanking the season, I never want to tank. The organization never wants to tank. I can see the benefit in the team losing games. That is true. I can see the benefit if the team loses. But I am not going to actively seek it out. I am not going to actively root for it. I would like my fandom to be rewarded. I would like to be entertained happily on a Sunday. I would like to not be miserable like I am today on a Monday. If you can root for 2-15 and be happy for it and look forward to one day in April for the draft, then that's you. I won't tell you how to be a fan, but I can't fan that way. I do not want my team to lose games. I certainly don't want them to be okay with losing games. If they lose a bunch, we'll reevaluate come the end of January when the draft order is set. And then we'll find some benefit in it. But leading up to that, I want my team to win. And I want them to win as much as possible. Even though they're not going to the playoffs this year, I want to have my fandom rewarded. I saw this with the Seahawks last year, right? Seahawks had 2 first-round picks. I wanted the Seahawks to get to the playoffs. They did. They finished 9-8. They got to the playoffs. That made me happy. Is 9-8 the world's best position to be, losing in the first round of the playoffs? No, it's not. But it still made me happy as a fan to have gotten there. When they went 7-10 the year before that, I was happy that they won the 7 games. I wasn't rooting for them to have lost them, so they got a better draft pick. It's just not how I'm wired. Again, you want to be wired that way, do it. It's just not for me. It is the Brady Farkas Show. I'm worked up today. WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I want to go out to the phone line now. And I want to bring on our friend, Bob Socci. Bob Socci is the voice of the New England Patriots. You hear him with Zoe right here on this here radio station. We're going to have the game coming up on Sunday against the Raiders as the Patriots try to turn the page. Bob, I appreciate you being with us. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brady. The sun is shining here in Foxborough, despite the outlook for the Patriots after the last 2 weeks, combined with the difficult start the first 2 weeks. And nonetheless, it's great to talk with you. And as you said, it was the worst performance by the Patriots at home under Bill Belichick, the second worst loss in his career as a head coach, following the worst loss with that 35-point defeat at the hands of the Cowboys. It's really stunning to see, how this team has fallen these last couple of weeks with the mistakes repeating themselves, especially.
They were close the first 2 weeks against the Eagles and Dolphins. There were still things they did wrong, but they were close to winning those games. Last 2 weeks has been anything but. I guess kind of describe to me the one word, or what's the one word you would use to describe what you're watching recently?
I don't think there really is one word, because I think that's the thing about, the Patriots' struggles. I think they're really multifaceted. They're beating themselves with the turnovers, Mac Jones in particular, the quarterback play. I don't even want to say it's not up to standard. Turning the ball over is one thing. Turning the ball over in the fashion that they've done it, the poor starts. And when I say fashion that they've done it, giving the other team 3 points, pick sixes, scooping scores, turning the ball over on your side of the 50-yard line and handing the team a short field that you're playing against. Then beyond that, the issues related to the offensive line, the lack of overall speed, the inability for the wide receivers to get open, the injury toll. Now, of course, really impacting the defense especially. But, all those factors, to me, make it impossible to put your finger on one particular thing for this team and say, okay, if they improve this or that expanded to two things, they will be in much better shape. And to me, like when it comes to describing it, the adjectives, there have to be more than one, because there are a lot of different things this team, right now is struggling because of, or things that are affecting this team's performance on a series by series basis, let alone game to game.
When we talk about Mac, I don't want to pile on, because I think a lot of people in the media are doing that right now, both locally, regionally, and nationally. When you watch Mac, are you seeing more physical issues? We've heard a lot about his footwork and things like that. Or are you seeing more mental / confidence issues in him?
Brady, I think it's a combination. I think one leads to the other. Okay. And the certain physical shortcomings have been there. And no question about it. He's not the athlete that a lot of the quarterbacks we see in the league having success are, in terms of being able to make plays outside the pocket, the off-platform throws. He doesn't have the arm strength of the top-tier quarterbacks in the league, even those who played from the pocket for the most part, that have the kind of arm talent, so to speak, to use a phrase that you often hear around draft time. Mac Jones hasn't been in that category. What he has been when he's been at his best, though, is someone, I believe, who navigates the pocket well, who sees the field well, makes good decisions, and is able to maneuver within the pocket to give himself a chance to make throws. And I'll be honest with you, I thought he was doing that through the first quarter at Dallas. In fact, Zoe and I were talking about it on the air on the broadcast. Zoe commented and complimented Mac in particular on one throw during that first quarter play against the Cowboys, in terms of the way he was able to step up or around the pressure, avoid being sacked, and make a throw. And he's been under constant pressure. That's a big part of it, too, for him from the start this season. And I even said to Scott on the air, I said, is that something he's doing a lot better? And he said, absolutely, no doubt. And then all of a sudden in the second quarter, from that strip sack on, then we saw the breakdown, the decision-making, the lapse in mechanics, which compound, the other physical issues. It's not only the decision to throw the ball across the field, speaking of the pick six at Dallas, but it's doing it flat-footed, going backward, with your shoulders not squared, and you don't have, your mechanics aligned to give yourself a chance to complete that throw, even if you have a good arm. So there's a lot of different things, I think.
Bob Socci with us here, the voice of the New England Patriots, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. He's with us on the Brady Farkas Show. And Bob, what can be done moving forward at this point? Because the NFL is a week-to-week league. Right now it looks grim, but it could all look different next week. Where do you even start the process, though, of trying to move forward?
Well, Brady, Bill Belichick said this morning in a teleconference with media that, they're going to look at staff and player personnel, or at least he was asked if those things will be included in his, we have to start over remarks immediately after the game. And he, said basically, they're going to look at everything. And I think it's something they have to do. I'm not sure that there is a major fix right now for this team because of a number of factors. One, to start over and go back to the basics. And I think that's part of it. It's trying to simplify what they do. But, you're in the middle of the season and there's not a lot of practice time to begin with. Certainly there's not a lot of contact in practices during the season. The limitations on what you can do from that standpoint. So to really take a step back and for example, they have to shore up their line play. They have to be better blocking. To do that during the season physically, to get on the practice field and be able to do that, it's very difficult because of the limitations that you have time-wise and also with the rules that are in place. And then beyond that, you're trying to install a game plan and get ready for the next opponent and have a game plan that's specific to that opponent. And so you're trying to balance these two different objectives, going back to the basics, and I'm just talking about line play, with preparing and giving yourself an opportunity with a game plan that is designed to hopefully accentuate the strength you have and exploit the weaknesses the other team has. But then on top of that, you have a team that's really beat up defensively, especially. You have a quarterback who it seems not only is struggling physically, as we've talked about, but really is facing a crisis of confidence or lack thereof. And you have a locker room that has a number of players and a very small number, a very, very small number of players who've had championship experience and, been leaders by example and word for this team. But you have a large number of players who are not Patriots born and bred. They've been acquired from outside the organization, or they're young players who are just beginning in their careers. And some of those guys are really just trying to find their way. So there's a lot of different complicating factors right now for this team to try to somehow repair enough of what ails them to give themselves a chance to win. I think maybe the best tonic right now is that they're playing a team that they should know well in Las Vegas, a team they saw twice last year, a team that is struggling itself in the next game ahead, but it's a road game. And, the Raiders, on the other hand, are going to look at the Patriots the same way that the Pats are likely going to look at them, just the way New Orleans did yesterday.
Well, I guess there's one thing I think I would point to here. I think for so long the thought was that the Patriots defense was good enough to kind of let you go down the field and then, really tighten down in the red zone and try to hold you to a field goal. Well, one thing that's been glaring this year has been the Patriots' lack of turnovers forced, right? They've only had two takeaways this season. Do you think maybe they can start to take some more chances to start to create some breaks rather than just try to hunker down in the red zone only?
Well, Brady, when you look at the makeup of their defense right now, when you say take chances, what does that mean? Does that mean you're looking at a secondary that going into the game, for example, versus New Orleans, they had Jonathan Jones back, but they're reintroducing J.C. Jackson. They don't have Jack Jones. They don't have Marcus Jones.
Right.
And so now are you going to leave Miles Bryant on? And then this is not to disparage him, or Sean Wade. Are you going to leave those guys on islands and go cover zero and just go all out blitz? So there are things you can do and things you can't do, and I've seen that on various levels of football where teams just kind of play recklessly to take chances. I mean, the cliche "do your job" it exists because it's been tried and true. And one of the things you hear about from bad football teams, and I remember Danny Amendola telling me the difference between the bad Rams teams he was on and the very good Patriots teams he was a part of. But the biggest difference for him is that that expression being exemplified. Do your job. That when you're on a bad team, sometimes you try to do too much. And I think that goes too from a play calling standpoint on both sides of the ball. It's true for defense too, where you try to do more than you're capable of. One of the strengths of the Patriots, I've always believed, especially with Bill Belichick as the head coach, has been putting people in position to succeed, but also not putting them in position where they're likely to fail. And so I think when you talk about taking chances in gambling, I think, you're running the risk there of exposing them even more and putting them in a greater position to fail. Now, that doesn't mean that, for example, if there are some fourth and shorts in a situation where, the game still hangs in the balance or you're behind and you're chasing points, you don't be more aggressive in that respect. But I think in terms of the play calling, there are limitations. You're really hamstrung by the physical state, especially on defense of your team. But the poor starts have been, to your point, they're not getting turnovers. And even in those games where they were really competitive, the Eagles still went downfield, 10-plus plays, field goal, 3-0 lead. Miami, down the field, 10-plus plays, field goal, 3-0 lead. So they were playing from behind early, same with Dallas.
Well, I'll get you out of here on this. I asked this question of Phil Perry on Friday, and he kind of playfully balked at it and said the Patriots aren't wired to tank. I wouldn't consider, I'm about to ask you, tanking, though. Given that they're 1-4, could you see them spinning off one or two players looking for draft picks in the future? I don't think I consider that tanking because I don't think that's an organizational choice to lose. But if you can spin off somebody for a 4th or 5th round pick, I don't. Like I said, I don't consider that tanking. Do you think that's something that they might be looking at here at the trade deadline a couple weeks away?
Well, I think there's always a possibility of making trades either, even to acquire someone, not necessarily that you think that's going to be a piece that, gets you over the hump necessarily. But I think the real question now at this point is what assets do you have that are going to be attractive to teams who want to trade for a player at the deadline? And when you start thinking about the Patriots, what are those players? What positions do those players play? Who are those players? What positions do they play? For example, if you look at the Patriots roster right now and you said, okay, if the Patriots dangle this guy, they might be able to get a 5th or 6th round pick in next year's draft. Well, who are those players? Who are you willing to give up? And if you give up that player, what are you going to do with that position? Can you give up Hunter Henry? The trade. He's one of your captains. Even though he's in the final year of his contract. And then I'm thinking about potentially, because I think I heard or read his name somewhere. Well, what does that leave you with at that position? You got to feel the team. We're only in October. There's a long way to go this season. And I'm not thinking it's time to give up on the season or give up on Mac Jones or anybody else. But I think those are the things that you have to think about. And so I don't see them selling off pieces, particularly in the case of this is a head coach who. Well, in my opinion, I don't think he's ever going to tank, and there's so many questions about the future of this organization, not only the rest of this season but beyond. I don't think they're really in a position to do a lot to start thinking about beyond 2023, if that makes sense. Right now, in terms of where they are in the context of this season between weeks 5 and 6.
Well, hopefully they start to turn around next week against Vegas. Vegas is going to be playing on a short week after playing on Monday Night Football later tonight. So there you go. Bob Socci, voice of the Patriots. We're going to have that game for you coming up next Sunday. I'm already ready to turn the page to next Sunday and get us 6 days from now. So, Bob, we appreciate it. It's been great to have you on, as always, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right, Brady. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. There goes Bob Socci, the voice of the Patriots. We'll have that game for you again coming up next Sunday afternoon. We had NASCAR yesterday, and that was probably better for everybody involved. And Bob used to come on this show every single week, and just transparency, I did not ask Bob to come on every week again this year. Not because I don't love Bob. I do love Bob. In fact, Bob is one of my favorite guests, and Bob's a guy I love getting on the show. But Bob came on every year for free for 3 years, right? Like Bob came on every week of the season for 3 years and he did it for free. And I didn't feel right asking him to come back on every single week because it takes a significant contribution from him. As you know, Bob's got a family, Bob's got kids, and here he is around dinner time. We're asking him to pull away to come on the show and talk to us for 10 or 15 minutes. And he does this for other stations in Boston. I'm like, Bob, your kids probably wants you around. Your wife probably wants you around. You probably have some things to do and places to go. And so it's just, I didn't feel right asking Bob to come on for free again every week of the season. So I love Bob. Bob is the best. We will get him on again. It's just not every week this year. There's a lot to get to there from Bob. I'm probably going to have Danny cut up a bunch of it and react to some of it tomorrow. The thing that jumps out to me is I do think the Patriots need to take some chances. And Bob put it eloquently, right? The whole do your job mantra. You don't want the Patriots to play reckless. But I do think they have to dial some things up, right? It's not even so much about winning games for the sake of getting to the playoffs. It's about for the sake of taking advantage of what opportunities you have. Can you jump a route on the outside and try to take it to the house? Right? I get it. That's not necessarily disciplined football all the time. But can you do it? Take a shot once in a game. Can you try a fake on a field goal or a fake on a punt? Can you go for it on 4th and 3 at the opposition's 31 instead of kicking a 47-yard field goal with your rookie kicker? Can you go for it on 4th and 3 at the opponent's 40 rather than punting? Bill Belichick's been ridiculously conservative with his 4th down decisions, with his game management decisions. Can you do some things to try to create scoring opportunities? Again, what's the difference, right? At this point, what's the difference? You're getting beat by 34 and 35 points back-to-back weeks. You giving the other team giving the ball on turnover on downs at the 40 rather than you punt it down to the 15. I don't know if there's a difference in that. Like, let's just try to create some scoring opportunities. Can you dial up the blitz? And I get what he means about not leaving Miles Bryant on an island, but if you got Jonathan Jones out there now, can you take some calculated shots to try to create some luck? The Patriots have 2 turnovers forced this year, and man, there's turnover regression, and then there's this. And it's disappointing where the Patriots have been. So Brady Farkas Show, 802-585-3026. Bunch of texts in on the text line, 802-585-3026. Texter says, why can't they run on 2nd and 2? Well, they got to get to 2nd and 2 first. It's hard to get to 2nd and 2 when you're constantly in 2nd and 13 or in 2nd and 9, right? How many times have the Patriots false started or illegal procedured their way into 1st and 15, which turns into 2nd and 12? How many times have they run it on 1st down to end up with 2nd and 8, right? If they can get to 2nd and 2, then they can run. But 2nd and 2 is also a chance to take a shot. But I'd have to see how many times they've actually gotten to 2nd and 2 because it doesn't feel like many. Text says they were at 2nd and 2 early in the game. I'm sure at one point in the game they've been at 2nd and 2 in any of the first 5 weeks. I don't have the running list in my head. Texter says they love the show. Let management know. You can do us a favor and let management know for us. You can message Steve Cormier, so Cormier at radiovermont.com. You can let them know that you love the Brady Farkas Show. Glenn in Brookfield says, agree with you, Brady. No answer, and worst of all, no heart. They are the worst team in football. I got to deviate from the Patriots here for a little bit. The Celtics made a big move yesterday, and they had their preseason opener. We'll talk a little bit about the new contract for Peyton Pritchard. Danny and I have some differing opinions on this one. We'll talk about it next on DEV.
Vermont's most innovative companies will be at the Vermont Tech Jam, powered by 7 Days on Saturday, October 21st at Hula in Burlington. Looking for work? At the Tech Jam, you'll meet recruiters face-to-face. Beta Technologies will be there, and Marvell, Core Power, VIP, Data Innovations, and National Life, too. Put on some real pants, step away from your remote desk, and step onto Hula's Lakeside Tech campus. Want to be inspired? Learn about lab-grown meat. Hear from Dr. Rachel Floriani and Irfan Tahir, 2 University of Vermont researchers who explain how they help grow cell-cultured meat. Should Vermont embrace cellular agriculture? To register for the Vermont Tech Jam presented by Hula and Marvell on Saturday, October 21st, visit techjamvt.com. That's techjamvt.com.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Experience a heart of Vermont's history and culture at the Vermont Granite Museum's Granite Festival. Mark your calendar for Saturday, October 14th, and get ready for a day filled with hands-on activities, carving demonstrations, classic films, food, and live music. Best of all, this fantastic event is free thanks to the generous sponsorship of Community National Bank. The Vermont Granite Museum's Granite Festival, October 14th, a day of fun, history, and community events. 7 Jones Brothers Way, Barrie.
Tracy Schamberger describes her experience advertising with WDEV.
When WDEV presented Age Well with an opportunity to co-present a weekly live interview, we jumped at the opportunity. We see a direct increase in calls to our helpline because of our spot on WDEV, which is exactly what we had hoped for. We have experienced incredible results.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@RadioVermont.com.
Hi, this is Anson Tebbets, co-host of For the Birds, heard Saturdays on WDEV. Each week, Chip Darmstadt and I discuss bird sightings, bird counts, and activity at your feeder. You also can listen anytime to podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Join us Saturdays at 7:30 and 12:15 for the Birds. 28 years on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. I got to get out of the Patriots space for a little while, right? Appreciate Bob. We're cutting up Bob as we speak. We'll talk more about what Bob had to say tomorrow, but I got to get out of the Patriots space. I can't do it right now. I want to talk a little bit about the Boston Celtics. Celtics had their preseason opener yesterday against the 76ers. They won that game by 8, 114-106. First time on the floor for Drew Holiday. First time on the floor for Kristaps Porzingis. Brown played. Tatum played. We saw Peyton Pritchard score 26. And the big news of the day was that Peyton Pritchard not only scored 26 points in the preseason opener, but that he signed a new contract in Boston, 4 years, $30 million. So he's going to make a little over $7 million a year. Danny, I want to get to the Peyton Pritchard stuff in a minute. This is full disclosure. I did not watch 1 second of the Celtics game last night. I don't like to admit that. I don't like to tell you that I didn't watch it, but I was watching the Patriots. I was watching the NFL. I was watching baseball playoffs. Celtics preseason basketball went down to the bottom of my list. I did not watch it live. I did watch this morning the expanded highlights. I have an idea of what worked for the Celtics, but I ask you, because you did watch this game, somehow you watched Celtics preseason basketball. What did you see yesterday on the floor for the Celtics opener?
A lot of great energy out there, actually. The crowd was really hyped to see the new players out there. Porzingis looked like he, had played yesterday, basically. He looked really sharp.
He hit the three to start the game. First bucket of the game was a Porzingis three.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly saw his ability to stretch the floor early and often.
He had a great alley-oop dunk from a pass from White. The team looked, it wasn't perfect, obviously. They missed a lot of shots in the first half, but they played pretty good basketball for the preseason.
Embiid didn't play for Philly, so that's certainly a major qualifier.
And Harden's on his way out, reportedly.
Harden. So Harden doesn't want to be there. Embiid didn't play. They still played their guys, but they didn't have the MVP of the league. So, take that for what it's worth. The Celtics won a game by 8 in which the MVP of the league didn't play. From the highlights that I saw, I also was impressed by the energy. It certainly looked like a crowd that was full-throated and ready for basketball. It was a crowd that was excited to be there, even for a preseason game. I saw Drew Holiday play. Couple good passes, couple good pass deflections. He hit a 3 at one point from what I saw in those expanded highlights. Porzingis did look good, did look athletic, didn't look like a guy who had foot problems. Tatum, I don't think really tried to score a bunch. I think he had 13 points, but I saw him
10 rebounds though. So he was active.
10 rebounds. He was active. He did get to the line. I saw him finish around the rim. You always talk about kind of a guy who's willing to get to the rim and then finish around the rim. So that's good. They look like, they look like a team that should be very, very competitive. I think their ceiling again is best team in the NBA and Eastern Conference champions and NBA champions. They look like a team that deserves that kind of conversation. Peyton Pritchard was the story of the game also, though. He had 26 points. He really came on in the fourth quarter. He helped salt away that victory. He shot it well from three. He actually did some things where he got into the lane and created some shots for himself as well. Before the game, he signed a 4-year, $30 million contract. And Danny and I were texting about this yesterday, and upon review of things, I just have to go back to my old adage. Two things can be true at the same time. Number one, I do not believe Peyton Pritchard is worth $7.5 million a year. Number two, this is what NBA players get. Like, the NBA contract system is bloated, right? And I'm happy for the players, right? I'm happy for players that are getting paid generational money, that are making generational wealth. And if the owner, I'd rather the players get it than the owners, right? I'm going to be pro-employee over pro-management because I am an employee, right? If management's making money, I want the money to filter down to the players. So I'm glad that Peyton Pritchard is making this money. But I don't believe Peyton Pritchard is worth $7.5 million. Peyton Pritchard last year played in only 48 games, only 48 of 82. He only played 13 minutes a game. He only scored 5.5 points a game. He only averaged 1 assist a game. He asked for his way out of town. He was a malcontent last season. So I don't believe that Peyton Pritchard is a guy worthy of $7.5 million. But that said, that's what guys get in the NBA. And upon doing some real research on it, I just have to be okay with it. I will be honest with you. There are guys I have never heard of in the NBA that are making more at point guard than $7.5 million a year like Peyton Pritchard.
There's a lot more than you think of.
Danny, I have never heard of Monte Morris, a 28-year-old point guard for the Detroit Pistons, who is making $10 million.
Played in the Nuggets. He was a backup.
Never heard of him.
Yep. Gary
Payton II, who's very much a role player with the Golden State Warriors, is making $8.7 million. TJ McConnell, who used to play for the Sixers, who now plays for Indiana, is making $8.7 million a year.
A guy who doesn't shoot.
A guy who is a pass-first version of Peyton Pritchard. Dion Wright, 31 years old.
Is that not DeLon?
DeLon Wright, not even Dion. My mistake. 31 years old with the Washington Wizards, $8.1 million a year. I've never heard of him. I've also never heard of Vasily Micic, who plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's making $7.7 million a year. Patty Mills, who's 35, a very good player in his career, is making $6.8 million a year.
That must be the back end of his contract.
I mean, no, he's a new deal with the Hawks this year. I think that was a free agent deal that was signed this year. No, he had a 2-year deal, so it is the back end of a 2-year deal. But still, he signed a 2-year deal at 34, worth $12, $13 million a year. This is what NBA players get, and I just have to recalibrate my brain because Peyton Pritchard, I think he'll play more of a role this year. They need him to play more of a role. We talked about the depth that the Celtics have or don't have and how they need guys to step up. And you saw Sam Hauser play a lot yesterday, and Cornette played yesterday, and Pritchard played a lot yesterday. They don't need him to get 26 a game, but they need him to be able to play 20 minutes, I think, a game, 18 minutes a game, 25 in one game and 15 in another. They need him to be able to give you real minutes and to be able to contribute when he's out there. So they need him to step up. But $7.5 million is going rate at this point for a backup point guard who isn't real accomplished. And that's just something that I have to recalibrate my mind towards, Danny.
Yeah, and I texted you another one. Gabe Vincent for the Lakers this year. He's going to make $11.5 million. So.
But Gabe Vincent played a lot, right? Like,
he did.
Gabe Vincent.
But he only played because Kyle Lowry was out all year. So
that's true. And Lowry wasn't out all year, but he was out
most of the year.
But Vincent made himself into a player in the playoffs, so obviously he got kind of the playoff bump there and kinds of.
But that's what the Heat do.
Our mind, but Pritchard is a guy they need something from. $7.5 million a year appears to be fair for somebody who does what he does. But he is going to have to contribute more than 5.5 points and 1 assist a game.
And he's going to play more.
He's going to have to play more. Derek White, Drew Holiday are clearly the top guys when it comes to handling the ball and playing point guard. But if they want to go small, Pritchard can come in and play the point. If they need some more shooting, Pritchard can come in. If they want to give a guy a blow or give a guy a break, then Pritchard's going to have to come in. He's going to have to play. I think he needs to play. What do you think is fair, Davey? Last year he played 13 minutes a game. You think 18 minutes a game is fair in the regular season? I don't know how much he plays in the playoffs, if they're even going to want him in the playoffs. But 18 minutes a game in the regular season, does that seem fair?
Yeah, depending on the team they play. If they're going small, he'll play a lot.
I think depending on the team they play is right also. I think that's fair to say. And again, I would look at it like one game he'll get 25 minutes and one game he'll get 15 and it averages out to 20. Or one game he'll play 24 minutes and one game 18 and it averages out to, or to whatever I said. Whatever it gets him to 18. 24 one game and 10 another.
You got to consider that other guards will get injured too and he'll have to step up and maybe even start a couple games. You never know.
I don't want to think about guards getting injured. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Danny, I will tell you the highlight of my weekend as we wrap up the show next here on DEV.
At Union Bank, they've helped local businesses and municipalities since 1891 with a full suite of commercial and municipal loans and services. Union Bank is local, so they can act quickly, provide personalized customer care, and have the personal, commercial, and municipal banking services that you need. Now, for a limited time, lock in a 12-month CD at 4.50 annual percentage yield and 4.40% interest rate. This offer is available online only. See website for details at ublocal.com. Union Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Waterbury invites you to think local, buy local, and be local by experiencing our many craft beer and food options. Whether you're anticipating that first delicious cold draft at a local brewery or picking up a variety pack at the store, the countless beers brewed in Waterbury and around the area are easy to access. Available on tap and in stores, we've truly earned the nickname Waterbury. We also have many restaurant options to please all palates. Take a night off from the kitchen and indulge yourself with fine dining, cafes, pubs, or takeout. There's something for everyone.
This is Green Mountain Dry Goods, across from Ben & Jerry's. We have syrup, stuffies, souvenirs, and more.
Take care of your mind and body by choosing acupuncture, massages, reflexology, spas, salons, chiropractic care, and more. Indulge in some self-care and support our local businesses. Visit discoverwaterbury.com for more information.
Have you been thinking about installing a heat pump but didn't know where to start? Mitsubishi Electric Heating and Air Conditioning heat pumps provide year-round comfort with air filtration and precise temperature control. Plus, generous incentives and rebates are now available. Contact the Diamond Elite Certified Technicians at the Energy Co-op of Vermont for a free quote at ecvt.net.
Use less, save more at the Energy Co-op of Vermont.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Vermonters know they can depend on WDEV day to day and in times of crisis. Paul Costello expresses his thoughts on the importance of WDEV.
WDEV, you guys stand for something, and you're like the heart and soul of community radio, and I love that. But, you really all have stepped up in such a great way.
WDEV, in service to the community for 92 years. FM 96.1 and AM 550. Streaming at WDEVradio.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I want to thank Bob Socci, voice of the Patriots, for stopping by. That interview will be available shortly after the show on the podcast channel, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at WDEVradio.com. The full show podcast will also be available shortly as well. Diddy does a great job of getting that up right after the show ends. We just got a couple of minutes left here. Jazz with George Thomas is next. George is on from 7 until 8:30. Then at that point, we go over to playoff baseball. It is the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. The coverage begins at 8:30, and the first pitch there is just after 9 o'clock, 9:07. Diamondbacks have a 1-0 series lead. Danny, with just let me tell you quickly about kind of the best part of my weekend, really just more of a compliment that I got. When you get older, you'll appreciate compliments like this. So growing up, right, I used to play basketball at the YMCA. I played a lot, and I would always play with guys my age, but there was always like this handful of guys that were in their upper 20s or 30s or maybe even 40s or 50s that just wanted to run, right? Like they were there, they were looking for exercise, and we always used to, come on, the old guys were playing with us, and they clearly didn't like playing with us. Like, oh, man, here we go. I have to play with the 16-year-olds and the 18-year-olds and all that. So it's not like a real fun dynamic for everybody. I found myself in that position the other day. I was at the gym, and there was a group of guys playing probably between the ages of 16 and 27, right? So they weren't all incredibly young, but 16 to 27. There were probably a handful of guys that were 16, a handful of guys that were 22, 23, and probably a handful of guys that were like 25, 26. I was clearly the oldest guy on the court, right? Like clearly the oldest guy on the court. And I hadn't played in a little while, but I played pretty well. And I hit a couple of shots from deep, 3-4 feet behind the line, got my Porzingis on, bodied a couple guys down low. It was, I didn't embarrass myself, certainly. Guy comes up to me after and goes, dude, you are a cheat code. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, like, I know what a cheat code means. Like, it means like you have all the answers. But like, what are you talking about? No one's ever called me a cheat code. He goes, dude, you're tall, you've got unlimited range, and you're making everything. You're a cheat code. So I'm like, well, there you go. When
Brady Durant.
When the 33-year-old about to be 34-year-old is getting compliments from the guys who are 16 to 27, that's a feeling pretty good day at the office, Danny. As you get older and you have less and less achievement in your life, you will start to appreciate when you get compliments. And I certainly got that compliment yesterday and took it as one. So appreciated it. It was fun. Always good to play. I don't get a lot of chances to play right now. And, we will see how it goes. But I got a chance to play and had some fun doing it. We've got a busy week planned here on the Brady Farkas Show. I know John Becker, the UVM men's basketball coach, is going to join us on Wednesday. TC is going to be with us on Wednesday as well. Freddie's going to be with us on Wednesday. Got a lot of stuff happening. Buster this week also. Go download the podcast. Danny, appreciate all your work behind the scenes. Appreciate the texters. Patriots are 1-4. We'll try to get through it together. We'll see how I feel 24 hours from now. Jazz with George Thomas is next.
When we need support, Vermonters know